Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Historical Markers. Today we are in Ripley County, Missouri, and there are several markers here. We're going to go around and see what we can find and share with you. So stay tuned, stick with us as we do Ripley County, Missouri. We are in Ripley County, Missouri, in Doniphan at the courthouse square right now. And this marker is for Doniphan. It says, on the hills above lovely Current River, Doniphan was founded 1847 and became the seat of Ripley County in 1860. George Lee gave 50 acres for the town and named it for Mexican War Colonel Alexander W. Doniphan. The county, organized in 1833, is named for War of 1812 General E.W. Ripley. Van Buren, the first county seat, was in the area detached from Ripley to form Carter County in 1859. The Irish wilderness, land of legend and romance, lies in northwestern Ripley and in adjoining counties north and west. There, in 1858, Father John Hogan, attracted by cheap government land, founded a Catholic colony. By 1859, 40 families, many of them Irish, had settled in the area, and a colony chapel was built near Pine in Ripley County. The colony disappeared during the Civil War. In the war, brutal guerrilla bands overran the county, and in September 1864, Doniphan was burned by Union troops as Confederate General Sterling Price's army was moving into Ripley County from Arkansas. Devastated by the war, Doniphan grew with the coming of a branch of the Missouri Pacific Railroad in 1883 and development of a lumber industry. All right, this is the other side of the Doniphan marker. Here in the eastern border of Missouri's Ozarks, Doniphan is the seat of a lumbering and general farming county. Attracted by plentiful game, fine waterways, and fertile bottomland, Southern pioneers settled the area in the early 1800s. Lemuel Kittrell was Doniphan's first permanent settler in 1819. During the early 1900s, Doniphan was the center of a leading railroad tie producing area in the United States. At the peak, the Missouri Tie and Lumber Company cut some 35 million feet of logs a year in northwest Ripley County. After 1905, the denuded land was uncared for until made a part of the Clark National Forest in the 1930s, when it was put under a program of reforestation. Mounds built by prehistoric Indians have been found in the county, an area utilized in modern times by Osage and by migrating bands of Cherokee and other tribes whose village camps were built along the current. The Osage ceded claims to the region in 1808. The Natchitoches Path, noted Indian trail to the southwest, ran through southeast Ripley County, crossing Current River at Pittman's Ferry, Arkansas, some 12 miles south of Doniphan. And we are on the grounds of the Ripley County Courthouse in Doniphan, Missouri, and this marker is to all the veterans of Ripley County. All right, this marker on the grounds of the Ripley County Courthouse is a war memorial to all four branches that are around the sides of that, and it says, from a grateful nation, thank you. And there is a Purple Heart symbol on there, so this is a Purple Heart County. I noticed that sign when we were coming in. All right, we are in Ripley County, Missouri, out in front of the courthouse in Doniphan, and this is a tribute to the Current River. Current River is beautiful, serene, scenic, and enjoyed by people here and from afar. The Current River must be respected at all times, as it has taken the lives of people even when it was at normal water level. On December 3rd, 1982, it rose to a record 27.3 feet at a point 20 feet west of the base of this monument during this flood in Ripley County. 250 head of cattle perished, 20 businesses were inundated, 53 homes destroyed or damaged, totaling over $2 million in losses. That's what I said, yeah. Over $2 million in losses. Let this monument serve as a reminder that Current River is very beautiful, but it can also be very destructive. Love her, but respect her. And I can speak for Current River's beauty. I have done a couple of float trips down Current River, and it's beautiful, but yeah, needs to be respected. All right, we are here in Doniphan, Missouri at the Heritage Homestead, which is like a little outdoor a museum of various pioneer things. And here's the marker. It tells us all about the Heritage Homestead. All right, the Heritage Homestead. This is a typical homestead of the late 1800s, re-erected on this site by the Doniphan Neighborhood Assistance Program. Generous donations of time, land, money, buildings, furnishings, and equipment by many people made this project a reality. DNAP recognizes these supporters, and their support is greatly appreciated. Future growth will continue as more furnishings are acquired and will portray a living history of Ripley County and the Ozarks. DNAP wishes to give special recognition to the Missouri Department of Economic Development, Neighborhood Assistance Program, and to the City of Doniphan for their aid in the completion and maintenance of the Heritage Homestead. Here at the log cabin, we have another plaque to read. This one, fortunately, we can see. Pioneer Log Cabin. This pioneer log cabin, originally located on a 60-acre plot in southwest Ripley County that was owned by George and Sally Farrell Patterson, was probably constructed between 1865 and 1867. Numerous logs had decayed and were replaced when the cabin was moved and re-erected in 1997. Note the unusual design of the fireplace and the plaster used on the inside. It served as a source of heat and was used for cooking. There was no electricity until about 1934. Their water had to be carried from a spring, which was about a quarter mile from the cabin. This cabin is a classic example of the sturdy and practical home style that was used throughout our whole western frontier. As you view the cabin, think what life was like in the 1800s. No electricity, no running water, no indoor toilet or bath facilities, no refrigeration or air conditioning, no telephone, television, or radio. But it was home, and the family was proud of their home. I can't show you the inside because it's going to reflect, I'm afraid. Well, no, you can see a little bit in there, can't you? It's not open right now, so I can't go in. But there's a little bit of a view of what it looks like. This one here is the Pioneer Log Cabin, originally located on a 160-acre plot in southwest Ripley County that was owned by George and Sally Farrell Patterson. Was probably constructed between 1865 and 1867. The cabin remained in the family for many years and was known as the George Patterson Cabin. It is a classic example of the sturdy and practical home style that was used throughout our whole western frontier. On December 17, 1921, J.C. Harmon and his wife Martha E. purchased the property from the widow Missouri Patterson and moved into the cabin. Their son Percy and his wife Opal Gibson Harmon lived in the cabin from 1927 to 1932. Their first daughter, Jewel, Mrs. Arvil Brashler, was an infant when they moved to the cabin in 1927. Daughters Georgia A. Pierce and Ruth H. Schroeder were born there. J.C. and Martha moved back into the cabin in 1932 and lived there until 1947 when they sold the property to the Weston family and moved to Doniphan. Roy Lee and Geneva Gibson were the next owners, and they rented it to Al and Gladys Emery, the last known inhabitants of the cabin. Following the Gibsons, owners were Robert and Dixie Tate, Willie and Pauline Morgan, Rusty and Marilyn Rollins, and Ron and Sue Smith, who donated the cabin to the Pioneer Heritage Homestead project. The homestead was dedicated on July 5th, 1997. I'll back up a little bit so you can get a better look at this cabin that has seen so many lives. That's awesome. All right, we are still at the Pioneer Village in Doniphan, Missouri, and this is the Tom Kinnon's Blacksmith shop. Has a date on it of 1920 to 1930. Unfortunately, the plaque that gives us more information about this cannot be read any longer. But it's a fairly good sized building. They have a Blacksmiths Association of Missouri that meets here sometimes. And they have demonstrations every Saturday from 9 a.m. until noon. That is really cool. Okay, this is the Pioneer Barn structure. Unfortunately, the plaque here on the front is no longer readable, but we're going to give you a good look at everything. It's called, this log barn was donated by Claude Kennedy from Van Buren, Missouri. And that's where the marker was. It's got some old equipment in here. You can see here, I know you won't be able to read it from here, but there's a potato plow. I'll come around and get those from the other side. I can't read them either. I'm sorry, there's quite a bit in here. All right, we're gonna go around and go in from the other side. Oh, here's something we can read. This is wheat drills. Early Ripley County farmers broadcast wheat and other cereal grain by hand. Several tools were developed for this job. This early wheat drill was patented in 1892 to 1895 and was distributed by the Gumlock Company. The strong wheels are unusual. Later models were equipped with more conventional type wheels. Also, later ones could be ordered with fertilizer attachments. The one-horse model is a more conventional one made for small grain and could be equipped with plates for planting cotton. It also was provided with a hopper and grain for distributing fertilizer. And it goes on to talk here about the same thing, about this wheat drill. It doesn't say anything new that I just didn't read, but they're just a marker. It's pretty cool. All right, we're going to go around inside here and get those markers that I couldn't read from the other area. All right, we're up here. There's some plows. And this says New Ground Plow. New ground plows, such as this one, equipped with coulters, named after the man who designed them, were locally called new ground plows. Coulters were designed as fin coulters and rolling coulters. Both types were effective where roots and brush were a problem. This plow has both types of coulters. So there we go. This is a potato plow. The slotted moldboard was designed to help break up the soil and thus required less preparation with the harrow. Farmers jokingly named it the potato plow, saying it would separate the large and small potatoes. It was successfully used in some soil types. And that says the same thing as this. So there's a few other things in here. We're going to go around to the other side. Oh, here's a wagon. I'm going to walk around the wagon this way and go in. There, you can kind of see this wagon. Pretty cool. Oh, look at that millstone there. That's pretty cool. All right, I'll step over here. All right, this wagon, I showed you the picture of. This is the plaque for it. It says the farm wagon. This wagon was exceedingly important equipment on any farm to haul crops, firewood, and to haul chickens, hogs, or eggs to market. It also served as transportation to town or to go visiting. The wagon box could be removed and then used to haul logs or additional sideboards added for hauling bulky crops such as corn or cotton. All right, we're looking at this plow up here. And this is a mold board plow. This old plow is similar to the very early plow invented by John Deere. It is equipped with coulter, the vertical knife that cuts the sod and roots, which is needed when breaking new ground. This plow was made by a blacksmith, and it was donated by John Lawson. There it is. And there's a few other things in here. Not sure what this was. There's an old millstone here. We are still in the Heritage Homestead here in Doniphan, Missouri. There's a little plaque up here on this building. This is a rural school restoration. 2014-2015, in appreciation of these donors who led the effort to relocate and restore the Plunk School at the Pioneer Heritage Homestead. And there's the families. And I don't know what all they've got in here. Looks like they use it as a community meeting room. And there is the five. I can remember my dad telling me when he was, my dad was born in 1933, but he went to school. He was one of the older boys, and he had to get there early and get the stove going, get the fire going inside the coal stove so they'd have heat. But it looks like they really are using this for a community center, so that's pretty cool. All right, these are machines, antique machines from the Heritage Homestead here in Doniphan, Missouri. And they've got these all lined up here for viewing. All I can say is I'm sure that modern farmers are glad they do not have to use this kind of operation anymore. But at the time, this was state-of-the-art farming. State-of-the-art. All right, we are here at the old Doniphan Cemetery, circa 1840, and there's a few stones out here that are veterans stones, a couple of them. A few more over here. And I don't know what this is, and I think it's going to be like some of the other places that the sign is not one that you can read. So I don't think the sign is going to be anything that you can read, but it is got tombstones in there. So that's pretty cool. I don't know why it was done this way. It walled in like these, but they're just various. There's tombstones on both sides. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen any. I've seen fences around graves, but you just can't even. Those may be footstones down there. I don't know.
They are.
So, okay. Well, that is certainly interesting. I mean, they covered it up with concrete. And I imagine this was not built, this was built way after they died. I can't see, you know, I mean, and I can't figure out why. Here in the old Doniphan cemetery area is this marker for Zebedee Washington Stevens. He was born September 19th, 1825. He died February 13th, 1893. An early pioneer, farmer, and businessman, was born during his family's trek from Virginia to Missouri in 1825. He grew up in Ripley County and became a justice of the peace and a Baptist minister. He owned several prosperous farms and built the first hotel in Doniphan. His father, James Calvin Stevens, and other relatives are buried in the Stevens Cemetery on K Highway in the northeast section of the county. And then it lists the people that were his descendants that have provided this plaque about him. Gravestone for Zebedee Washington Stevens. He was born September 19th, 1825, and he died February 13th, 1893. Age 67 years and 67 years, 1 month and 2 days, 21 days. There you go. It's hard to read. It says, farewell till we meet again. All right, guys, that was Ripley County, Missouri. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And we'll continue to learn about history county by county. So stay tuned to future episodes of Historical Markers.